You see their names on the ballot every single election, but when was the last time you actually saw them in the news? In this explainer, we're digging into why some politicians seem to have their jobs for life.
It's a great question, isn't it? You see their name pop up year after year, but you just can't remember the last time you saw them give a big speech or fight for a major new law. It feels like this big political mystery, but today, we're going to solve it.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll lay out the mystery itself. Then, we're going to uncover a kind of secret formula for winning elections. After that, we'll take a peek behind the curtain at what these politicians are really up to. And finally, we'll connect it all back to the single most important piece of the puzzle: us, the voters. So, let's start with that feeling we've all had. You see a politician's name again and again, and you just find yourself wondering, how are they still here? It's such a simple question, but the answer tells you so much about how politics really works. And here it is, the most basic, fundamental truth of it all. It might sound way too obvious, but it's the absolute most important point. A politician's power comes from one place and one place only: the ballot box. It doesn't matter how famous or how invisible they are. If they keep winning their elections, they get to stay. So the real question isn't why they're still in office, it's how do they keep on winning? And this brings us right to the heart of it. It turns out, especially in Japanese politics where our source material comes from, there's this powerful framework that all the insiders know about. It's almost like a cheat code for getting elected. It's called the three bans, or sanban. Now, this isn't just some catchy phrase. It's a whole strategic model that breaks down the three essential pillars you need to build a political career that lasts. So let's break them down. These three pillars, they all work together to create this nearly unbeatable system. Okay, first up is Jiban. That's the foundation. We're talking about deep local roots, a loyal base of voters who will show up for you no matter what. Second is Kanban, which is basically the brand. This is all about having your name recognized everywhere, getting the backing of big support groups. And third, you've got Kaban, which literally translates to briefcase, and you guessed it. It stands for the money, the cash. This is the financial engine for the whole operation. A politician who has all three of these, they are incredibly hard to beat. Okay, so they've got this powerful election formula down. But what do they do between elections? I mean, if they're not on TV all the time, what does their day-to-day work actually look like? This is the next big piece of our puzzle. You know, you should think of a politician's job like an iceberg. The stuff we see, the TV appearances, the speeches, the clips that go viral online, that's just the tiny little tip poking out of the water. The vast, vast majority of the work happens below the surface, completely out of sight. And this invisible work, well, that's the real engine of their power. It's the totally unglamorous day-in, day-out grind. We're talking endless committee meetings, hammering out deals with government ministries for local projects, and directly helping out constituents who call their office. Every single local problem they solve just strengthens their Jiban, that loyal foundation we were just talking about. And veteran politicians become absolute masters of this game. Our source points out that they develop these, quote, shrewd political survival skills. They might trash talk each other in public for the cameras, but behind the scenes, they're building these powerful networks and alliances that guarantee they'll be okay, no matter which way the political winds are blowing. And of course, there's a huge financial incentive to keep this going. For a member of Japan's Diet, for example, it's not just their salary. They get a ton of money for research and communications, plus they get benefits from party subsidies. And the key thing here is, this all comes from us, the taxpayers. And when you add it all up, we're talking about over 2.3 million yen a month. That's more than 15,000 US dollars every single month. And this income is automatic, just as long as they keep getting elected. It creates this incredibly powerful incentive to focus on one thing, and one thing only: winning that next election. So, we have the winning formula, we have the money, but there's one last critical piece that makes this entire system tick. And this part? Well, this part involves all of us. According to our source material, this whole machine we've just laid out, it's able to keep running for one fundamental reason. The check function of the voters has gotten weaker. In other words, the system that's supposed to hold politicians accountable just isn't working the way it should.
So why has it weakened? Well, it's pretty much a perfect storm. First, you have that super motivated, loyal core of supporters who will always show up to vote for their person. Their power gets magnified because turnout among younger voters and independents, the exact people who might want to shake things up, is often low. You combine that with a media that doesn't always have the time or resources to deeply investigate every single incumbent, and what do you get? A system where the status quo is incredibly hard to change. So, after looking at all the gears and levers of this political machine, where does the power to actually change it lie? Well, our source is very clear on this. It points right back to one group of people. And this, right here, is the big takeaway. The bottom line. Politicians are smart. They respond to incentives. If the current system keeps getting them reelected, why on earth would they change their strategy? The source is blunt. Real, lasting change in politics doesn't start with the politicians. It has to start with the voters.
And that leaves all of us with a final question to really think about. The next time you step into that voting booth, what are you actually choosing? Are you voting for the person who does all that invisible local work? The one who best represents your big picture policy goals? Or are you just picking the name you know best? The answer to that question, multiplied by millions of us, is what ultimately shapes the world we live in. Thanks for joining The Explainer.